My name is Micheal Rugg, and I started the Bigfoot Museum back in 2004. I had lost my job in Silicon Valley where I was pushing pixels for big corporations sitting in a branding agency. They went from 40 down to 4 and I didn't make the cut. So I had this space here in Felton. I decided that it was time to become the Bigfoot guy. And the reason I say that is because I had been paying attention to the Bigfoot mystery since 1952. And I noticed that some of the old timers I'd met along the way were starting to die. And they were dying unrequited because they didn't prove Bigfoot before they died. So they were pretty unhappy characters. One of them left his whole family to go hunt Bigfoot. So anyway, I decided to become the Bigfoot guy and open the museum, and I had all this stuff that I'd collected. So what good is a bunch of stuff like this if you don't share it with other people anyway? So people started coming in. They come in here to seek information. They also come in here to share experiences. So I've heard literally dozens and dozens and dozens of Bigfoot stories from eyewitnesses. Well, people have a tendency to associate the Bigfoot thing with the Pacific Northwest. Now, that makes sense because, like most other animals, they probably got here across the land bridge when it existed in Beringia. It's the land bridge. So they would have come across and entered through Alaska. They would have come down the ice-free corridor all the way down to the tip of South America, where a glacier was covering most of the rest of the continent. And so then as the glaciers melted, they started moving east. So that's why there's an association of them with the Pacific Northwest. But there's a place in Argentina called Patagonia. Patagonia essentially means the land of the big feet. Yeah, well, all the different native tribes, they have words for Sasquatch. It's Siako and Seattle and Siatik and Skookum. Those are just a few examples. Oma. So every Indian dialect had a word to represent the hairy wild men. And the Indians, for the most part, thought of them as the protectors of the forest and as a kind of a positive thing. Although some thought of them more as cannibalistic, that they would eat people. But there's probably a little bit of both in there, in reality, because the Sasquatch, from what I understand, the younger ones now have gotten used to us. They've grown up alongside us, and they don't see us as much of a problem. They can hide from us fairly easily. Well, there was a couple of guys who came in here, and I told them to go over to Quail Hollow. So they went over to Quail Hollow, and one of the guys was a veteran, and he had a problem with a bad hip, and he walked with a cane. So at Quail Hollow, there's a duck pond that also has turtles in it, and he went into the trees near the duck pond where he wasn't supposed to go. It's supposed to, keep out, but he went in there anyway. He sat down on a log, and he saw two ladies walking by a ways away on the right trail, and he yelled out at them. Then he heard a noise behind him, and he turned and looked, and there was a Sasquatch squatted down right behind him. it had been there the whole time. And so then he threw a stick at it, he said. And it stood up and turned around and walked into the area under this oak tree. There was a bunch of oak trees there. And disappeared into the oak trees. So that was pretty compelling. And we spent some time over there. And a lady was on Quail Hollow Road one evening. She saw something cross the road up ahead. So when she got to the spot, she looked out the side window. There was a Sasquatch leaning up against a tree trying to blend in. And it had a waist-high juvenile with it. And then just a short time after that, somebody asked us to go over there and look at some strange tree configurations that they witnessed. And we went over there, but all the leaves had fallen. It was too late. It was very cold and damp. And there were these footprints. And we cast them. They're on the shelf over there. And they appear to be the footprints of a juvenile Sasquatch. So we figure it was the one that we saw. Well, the Patterson film. I mean, you know, you can deny the Patterson film if you want. People do because they don't want to believe it. But if you really spend time looking at it and studying it, you'll see that it's absolutely the real thing. And back when the Patterson film was shot, this was shot in 1967. The state of the art in the movies at that time was the first Planet of the Apes movie. And if you'll think back, Roddy McDowell has a mask on that makes him supposed to make him look like an ape, and it looks like a guy in a monkey mask. It's so fake. And they just didn't have anything in '67 of this caliber of reality and costuming. Now they could make something like this, but back then they could not. Roger Patterson could have got himself a high-paying job in Hollywood, I guess.